It's time to be real, guys. Joe Biden and the Democrats, they're coming for the guns. They're coming for the guns. They've been waiting since 2010 to have a majority in the House, in the Senate, and to have the presidency so they could come for the guns. Now, Joe Biden has up on his webpage the gun safety section, and we're going to look at a couple of those things in just a minute. But I want to use this discussion as a launch pad for discussing what the Second Amendment means and the stark contrast between Joe Biden's plan and the actions of someone like Representative Lauren Boebert. Now, I don't know how to say her last name properly, so I'm going to call her Lauren for the rest of this video. But while Joe Biden wants to take guns away, Lauren is bringing them into the halls of Congress and in an open sort of legal way. She's legally permitted to carry her gun. Now, she says here, I'm legally permitted to carry my firearm in Washington, D.C. and within the Capitol complex. Metal detectors outside of the House would not have stopped the violence we saw last week. It's just another political stunt by Speaker Pelosi. Now, she's receiving a lot of heat for this, but she needs to be supported because our Second Amendment right is an inalienable and fundamental right, even though our Supreme Court has been hesitant to treat it that way since 2010, and really specifically with the passing of Antonin Scalia. Now, Scalia upheld the Second Amendment in big ways in 2008 and 2010, both in Washington, D.C. and Chicago cases, and that's been great. However, since then, the Supreme Court has not taken on a major gun case. They've passed on several gun cases with very important legal questions, and it's starting to look like Clarence Thomas may be right, that the Supreme Court treats the Second Amendment as a stepchild amendment. It does not get the same sort of care and respect that other amendments that involve fundamental rights get, and that is really going to be a problem. As we've seen year over year, various laws are passed and regulations are passed to further restrict our ability to keep and bear arms. They want to narrow the class of firearms that we're graciously allowed to have in our fundamental right to a very limited selection with limiting features on them. And that's what Joe Biden's policies are here. So the first thing he wants to do is to hold gun manufacturers accountable. That means that he wants to impose civil liability on a gun manufacturer when someone who is not the gun manufacturer uses their gun to murder someone. This doesn't happen in other sorts of products. Knife manufacturers are not liable when someone uses a knife to kill someone. Car manufacturers are not liable when someone intentionally uses a car to cause harm to someone else. Now, they could be liable if some defect causes harm, right? Like if you're firing your firearm and there's a product design flaw that causes it to backfire and cause you injury, you should be able to hold them accountable for that. But no one should be able to hold a gun manufacturer accountable for a lunatic taking a gun and shooting someone. That's not how we do liability in the United States, but they are trying to go ahead and do that. Now, the real goal of this is to make it so that you have to have liability insurance on your gun to purchase liability insurance to cover the manufacturer in the event that a gun is used in some sort of way. This makes it more cost prohibitive to own a gun. And in fact, if insurers refuse to carry the coverage, then you may not be able to legally acquire a gun at all. So they're trying to do that. That's one way. This is another one, banning the manufacture and sale of assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Now, of course, assault weapon is a misnomer. There is no such thing as an assault weapon. It's not a real category of gun or anything like that. What they mean by assault weapon is a long rifle that looks scary, generally, or a gun that we don't like, more generally, I guess, than just a long rifle that looks scary. If it has a certain attachment, like a tactical flashlight or a collapsible stock, somehow that makes the gun more dangerous in the eyes of these people, which is, of course, a ridiculous non-classification. They're trying to play on emotions. Also, these people don't understand anything about guns at all. And you can figure that out when you watch them or listen to them talk about it for anything over than a one-word soundbite. They have no idea how guns even work. They don't care. They're scared of them. They don't like them. And most importantly, they don't like that you have them, right? So they want to do that. They want to ban the sale and manufacture of assault weapons. Now, they're talking about semi-automatic rifles that you can buy right now that have been legal for quite some time and have a long history in the United States. That's what they're talking about, banning the sale of these legal rifles, sporting rifles, AR-15s, AK-47, non-automatic firearms. That's what they want to ban. And also high-capacity magazines, so really anything over 10 rounds. Now, banning high-capacity magazines is ludicrous. All it does is it puts someone in a self-defense situation into danger, as they may not have the amount of ammo that they would normally have. It's a limiting feature on the gun that serves no compelling government purpose. And it shouldn't really be allowed. The government shouldn't have any interest over how many rounds can fit into a particular magazine, because the number of rounds in a magazine is incidental to the intended use of a gun to commit a crime. They're not fundamentally related. They want to regulate possession of existing assault weapons under the National Firearm Act. Now, they did this way back when they regulated machine guns. Back in the 80s. Fully automatic machine guns are regulated under the National Firearms Act. You can actually own these, assuming you can pass the relevant background check and pay for the tax stamp on it, the annual tax of $200 per NFA item. But the real issue here is that when they have banned the sale and manufacture of new guns and they regulate the possession of existing guns, acquiring a new one becomes either impossible under the law or cost prohibitive as their scarcity increases, right? If there's no new ones entering the market starts to shrink and then the price goes up. Again, cost prohibition is one way they want to do this. So then they want to offer to buy back assault weapons and high-capacity magazines already in our communities. It's not a buyback. I didn't buy them from you. You're not buying them back from me. You're taking them from me and issuing the constitutional mandate of a taking and giving me my value for what you have taken. That's what a buyback actually is. It's a possession by the government, and they're compensating you because the government can't take your stuff without compensating you for it. It's not a buyback, but this is the type of mitigation of language that they're using to get around this stuff and reduce the stockpiling of weapons. So they want to restrict the number of firearms an individual may purchase per month to one, because you don't get to decide how many guns you want to buy or how many guns you want to have. The government will make that decision for you. Peasant. You're not allowed to choose for yourself. Listen, Joe knows. Joe knows what you should want. These are just some of the measures. This is actually a very long thing. I will link it in the description if you want to check it out. But be prepared to be enraged if you have any concept of the Second Amendment or of gun rights, and you read this, you're going to want to scream, kind of like I do. But hopefully our Republican representatives and the few remaining Democrats who actually understand that the Second Amendment is a real thing that matters, hopefully they will be opposed to this. But I am worried about the browbeating that all of those people are going to get, and the media will not be doing them any favors. So what do you guys think? Is it time to regulate guns, or is it just time to buy them? Leave a comment down below and let me know. We'll talk soon. Peace. Peace.